The year was 2006. Purcell, Oklahoma was a town where everyone knew their neighbors, a place where kids could ride their bikes after dark. That all changed on April 12th. 10-year-old Jamie Rose Bolin, with her infectious smile and love for kittens, vanished. The community rallied, hearts pounding with fear and determination. They plastered missing posters on telephone poles and searched every inch. Hope turned to horror 3 days later. Authorities discovered Jamie's body. She was found in Kevin Ray Underwood's apartment. He was a quiet, unassuming neighbor. No one suspected the darkness that lurked behind his door. Jamie was found in a plastic tub. The details, too gruesome to recount here, sent shockwaves through the community and beyond. The image of this innocent child, subjected to unimaginable cruelty, became seared into the nation's conscience. A killer walked among them, and the small town of Purcell would never be the same. Underwood confessed to the crime. His words, captured on tape, sent chills down the spines of hardened investigators. He described how he lured Jamie into his apartment. He recounted the gruesome details of the murder. He admitted to planning to cannibalize her. He spoke of his obsession with violent pornography and his struggle to distinguish fantasy from reality. He expressed remorse, but it rang hollow. How could someone capable of such an act truly understand the magnitude of his crime? Some saw his confession as a sign of remorse. Others saw it as a desperate attempt to avoid the death penalty. Whatever the motivation, Underwood's words painted a disturbing picture of a mind consumed by darkness. A darkness that had claimed the life of a bright and innocent child. Years passed. The legal process inched forward. Underwood's execution date loomed. His attorneys launched a desperate plea for clemency. They argued that Underwood was mentally ill, a victim of his own troubled upbringing. They pointed to a childhood marred by bullying and abuse. They presented evidence of his obsessive-compulsive disorder and his addiction to violent pornography. They argued that he was not in control of his actions on that fateful day. Expert witnesses testified about the devastating effects of untreated mental illness. They argued that Underwood could be rehabilitated, that he could contribute to society if given a chance. They urged the board to choose mercy over vengeance, to see the human being behind the monstrous crime. The prosecution presented a starkly different picture. They argued that Underwood was a manipulative predator who knew exactly what he was doing. They pointed to the calculated nature of the crime, the fact that he had lured Jamie into his apartment, that he had planned the murder in advance. They argued that his expressions of remorse were nothing more than a ploy to avoid punishment. They presented evidence that Underwood had a history of lying and manipulation, that he was a danger to society. They reminded the board of the horrific nature of the crime, the brutality inflicted on a defenseless child. They argued that Underwood had forfeited his right to mercy the moment he took Jamie's life. Justice, they argued, demanded the ultimate punishment. Section 5, a glimmer of hope extinguished, the pardon board's decision. The hearing stretched on for days. The courtroom was thick with tension, the air heavy with grief and anger. Jamie's family and friends sat through hours of agonizing testimony. They relived the nightmare of her disappearance and the horror of discovering her fate. The board deliberated for hours. They weighed the arguments of both sides. They considered Underwood's mental state and the brutal nature of his crime. In the end, they reached a decision. Clemency was denied. The vote was unanimous. Section 6, December 19th approaches. The wheels of justice turn. The date of Underwood's execution, December 19th, 2024, is fast approaching. Barring any last-minute appeals or interventions, he will be put to death. The state of Oklahoma will carry out its sentence. The news of the board's decision was met with mixed emotions. Some felt that justice had been served, that Underwood deserved to pay the ultimate price for his crime. Others grappled with the moral implications of the death penalty, questioning whether taking another life, even one as seemingly forfeit as Underwood's, could ever truly bring closure or healing. Section 7, Jamie Rose Bolin. A life cut short, a legacy remembered. Throughout the years of legal battles and appeals, one thing remained constant: the memory of Jamie Rose Bolin. Her family and friends have kept her spirit alive. They share stories of her infectious laugh and her kind heart. They work tirelessly to ensure that she is remembered not for how she died, but for how she lived. A vibrant, loving child who brought joy to all who knew her. Her legacy lives on in the countless lives she touched, in the hearts of those who loved her most, and in the ongoing fight to protect other innocent children from the darkness that claimed her life. Section 8. The death penalty debate: retribution or rehabilitation. Underwood's case has reignited the debate about the death penalty. Supporters argue that it is a just punishment for the most heinous crimes, that it deters future crime and provides a sense of closure for victims' families. Opponents argue that it is a barbaric practice, that it is applied unfairly, and that it does not deter crime. They point to the risk of executing innocent people and the lack of evidence that it makes society safer. The debate is complex and emotionally charged. There are no easy answers. But Underwood's case serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of violence and the difficult questions we must confront as a society. Section 9. Finding closure, seeking justice. A community and a nation grapple with a horrific crime. As December 19th approaches, the nation watches and waits. The execution of Kevin Ray Underwood will not bring back Jamie Rose Bolin. It will not erase the pain and suffering caused by his horrific crime, but it will mark the end of a long and painful chapter. It will be a time for reflection, a time to remember Jamie and to honor her memory, a time to acknowledge the devastating impact of violence and to recommit ourselves to creating a safer and more just world. The quest for justice is never easy, it is often messy and imperfect, but it is a quest we must never abandon. For in seeking justice for Jamie, we affirm our belief in the sanctity of life and our commitment to protecting the most vulnerable among us.